What's going on, guys? It's Cheesy, and welcome back to another Sunday breakdown. This weekend, we had actual racing, guys. For those of you who didn't watch the race, we actually had real racing. This is the week that we had full-on racing, and this is what I like to see in F1. We usually don't get this kind of racing that we had this weekend, but it was amazing. Unfortunately, like some of the viewers, I rely on this podcast. This week I'm relying on, or let me start over. Some of your viewers, you probably watch this podcast and may not watch the races, and I'm like you guys this week. I was really busy, and for those of you who might have cable, you can DVR things, and unfortunately the DVR didn't go to plan. So I've read many articles and looked at all the replays as much as I can. So I got a pretty good idea. If something does come up, just leave it in the comments below. I'll be more than happy to take a look at it. But this week we also have a special edition Saturday breakdown of the Kentucky Derby. I'll be doing that. That is not something that we'll do often, but I thought it would be something fun to take a look at. And then I just dropped the These Lug Nuts podcast. We uploaded it, and it's on the discussions tab of my YouTube channel. So be sure to, guys, if you guys can, to check that out. And without any further ado, let's cue the intro. Alright, boys and girls, so as I said, this race was absolutely jam-packed. The Italian Grand Prix circuit of Monza. It's a historical circuit. Quick fact for you guys, I said this in my circuit breakdown, but this is the only track to be raced every 70 years. So we have not missed a race. Even during this pandemic, we have not missed a race. So that is amazing. So we'll hop straight into it. And I don't have notes this weekend, but I have a good idea, and I'm ready to jump into it, and this will probably be more in depth. So I'm going to start, and before we usually start with practice one, but I'm going to be talking about the drivers' helmets first. So Lando Norris, McLaren driver, second year. Many of you probably know him. He had a pizza helmet, so he has his Lando Norris logo on both sides as usual, and he has the pizzas. So pepperoni pizza all the way around his helmet, covering what is usually free space that is just green. And that was pretty interesting. Antonio Giovinazzi, I was almost about to pronounce his last name wrong, so that's why I call him Gio a lot of the time. A lot of you guys know I just call him Gio. But he had a very interesting helmet, a beach theme, as he is from Italy. This was his home Grand Prix, and just a unique helmet in that regard. I really liked it. It was simple, sleek colors, and looked overall good. So now we'll move on to P1. And we'll have, going down the order, we have Bottas, which set a 120.7, then Hamilton behind him, Albon, Kvyat, Verstappen, Gasly, Perez, Norris, Ricciardo, Sainz, Leclerc, Ocon, Stroll, Grosjean, Magnussen, Gio, Raikkonen. Sorry, hold on one second. I don't know who 18 is, and Vettel and Latifi are 19, 18. So I'm seeing this right now, and Roy Nissany is racing for the Williams. I believe he is a driver that is, what is it, the F2 driver or reserve driver. Is that fact? So I just had to look at his full name there. It was minimized, so I just had to grab his full name. But he was P18, and that was interesting. He was driving for Russell there. So the pack was pretty close, within 2.5 seconds, so that isn't too bad. And we have the two Ferraris not doing good. This is their home Grand Prix. Ferrari is based out of Italy, and they were not doing too hot, and that is disappointing to see, because as we know, they haven't been doing good all year, but maybe we wanted to see them pull something off for their home Grand Prix. Hamilton goes first fastest in practice 2, Bottas behind, Norris, Gasly, Verstappen, Sainz, Kvyat, Stroll, Leclerc, Perez, Ocon, Vettel, Gio, Albon, Ricardo, Magnussen, Raikkonen, Grosjean, Latifi, Russell. So if it was, sorry, I didn't say this in P1, FP1, but Verstappen had a crash and he fell out on one of the turns. I believe it was 7. I think it was turn 7, and he broke his front wing, and they could get the car fixed within 5 minutes, which is pretty fast for a mild crash. And so Hamilton set a 120.1, which was faster than Bottas's in P2 or FP1. And that's just crazy that they're pushing the limit. Raikkonen previously held the track record with the 119.8, I believe. And I say previously held because you'll see that that'll just get crushed during qualifying because of these cards. Even though the engine mode has been banned, the qualifying engine mode has been banned, it's just crazy. So we'll move on to FP3 then, and then we'll have some announcements, or actually my makeshift notes. So Bottas goes first, fastest well, 120.089, so faster than Hamilton. They're both pushing each other, but where does that pushing end? You'll see in the race. Sainz behind, Norris third, Ricardo fourth, so my boy Danny Rick being up there, Hamilton fifth, Verstappen sixth, Albon, Ocon, Stroll, Perez, Leclerc, Gasly, Kvyat, Grosjean, Vettel, Magnussen, Sainz, Russell, Latifi, and Gio. So they're all back there, and Hamilton is not doing well, which is the start that we see when I say there's real racing this weekend. Even though Bottas is in the front, you have those backline guys moving up. You have Raikkonen going 17th fastest, so he isn't back at the end. 17 isn't great, but we'll see him move in qualifying. So qualifying is pretty interesting. As I said, Ferrari is their home Grand Prix, and I'll let you guys know now that they didn't do too hot. And some of the midfield teams, they did really good. Sainz showing up and everyone else. Apologies, that's the first time that just hasn't been uninterrupted, but someone needed my help. So apologies for that, but we're just going to get back in. So going from the bottom, Latifi qualified 20th, Russell 19th, Gio 18th, Vettel 17th, and Grosjean 16th. So Vettel out of Q3. This is the first time that both Ferraris didn't make it into Q3 I think it was 30 years, 40 years maybe, and that's just sad to see. Russell, I think Russell and maybe Vettel could have caught up, but there was a lot of traffic coming out of the last corner. Many of you know that last corner is a big one. It's similar to the left-hander in the Russian Grand Prix, but it's a right-hander, and it's the last one. And a lot of traffic in that, coming up to that on the straight and during that corner. So that led to everyone being very bunched up and a slow lap time. So I think all of them just threw their lap time by coming in the pits because they knew they could not improve. Vettel had 2 yellow sectors, and that's not just what you want to see. Of course, we feel bad for him. And you want to perform when everyone's at their best. You want to race when everyone's at their best. And this one, the back end was definitely not at their best for qualifying. So going up now, we'll have Magnussen 15th, Raikkonen 14th. So Raikkonen showing a lot of pace in that car. We'll see in the race that he shows a lot of pace. But the old man, the Iceman, he has not announced his retirement yet. And this he's definitely showing that he can beat Vettel, which is a very experienced driver. He can beat a lot of people. So, and we'll see that in the race too. Leclerc 13th, Ocon 12th, and Kvyat 11th. So we have everyone, a lot of the high-end cars that we see, Ocon getting out, Kvyat getting out, and Leclerc getting out. We should see these people get into Q3 for the top 10 shootout, but that's just not the case. And as I said, Ferrari has not made it into Q3. This Italian Grand Prix, which is our home Grand Prix, so it's disappointing to see. And for the top 10 shootout, Raikkonen's previous record was blasted by Hamilton for a 118.889, so more than a second faster. And I believe almost everyone in the top 10 except Stroll and Albon and Gasly also made it past his previous record, so they were all up there. So for the top 10 shootout, Hamilton goes first fastest with a 118.887, as I said. Bottas behind with a 118.9. Sainz, Perez, Verstappen, Norris, Ricciardo, Stroll, Albon, and Gasly. So Albon above his two AlphaTauri counterparts, but we'll see that they don't do it. As I have said, maybe not in this podcast, but I know I've said to people in person that Ricciardo is my favorite driver, Danny Rick favorite driver, and Gasly and Kvyat racing for the AlphaTauri is my favorite team. So I really appreciate that team and what they have done, what they are doing, and I like the livery and everything about their message. So we have Albon beating his two counterparts, as I said. Danny Rick at 7. Last podcast I said Danny Rick was at 7 too, and my dad makes jokes about it. But Sainz pushing, Perez pushing, and Verstappen falling behind. Verstappen had that crash, and it didn't affect his car, but maybe his morale may have been damaged in that accident. So what we have here is the race results. I just clicked over to them, just moved it over, and we have the race results. So let's start it off. So lights out, we have lights out, and there was a lot of the first chicane you have to take very slowly because everyone's bunched up. But Albon took it straight on, and he messed up his car. Vettel did not finish after lap 6 because he had a brake failure. So he had a brake failure there, and he was not able to continue the race. Kevin Magnussen on lap 17 had to go out. He had some issues with his car, and he just pulled over to the side. Charles Leclerc on lap 23, he also had a brake failure. So both Ferraris not showing good pace, and also not having any, not having any pace and not doing good. I'm not sure what the words are. So there was a issue with Kevin Magnussen. So Kevin Magnussen pulled out. Or no, sorry. Charles Leclerc crashed. So I'll move over. I'm jumping around, guys. So Charles Leclerc crashed, caused a red flag. So he had a crash heavily at Parabolica, and Toto Wolff looked. It says Toto Wolff far pleased, but I don't know. He always condones that. He doesn't think anything of it. But while the stewards were thinking about, so they pulled out the safety car, and Hamilton went into the pits, but they supposedly closed the pits before, and Hamilton didn't know that, so he made his way into the pits and got a pit stop while everyone else thought that the pits were closed. And by doing so, he got a 10-second penalty, and that made the race very interesting because he was leading the race at that point on soft tires, and he had to have a drive-through penalty for 10 seconds. So 10 seconds is a lot, especially after a safety car, which is crazy. But Charles Leclerc not only brought out the safety car, but had a red flag. So for those of you who didn't know, Charles Leclerc had the crash, as I just said, but a safety car is deployed to slow the cars down in order to get debris off the track. A red flag is to stop the race until all the debris is cleared, and then to restart it once it is clear and everyone starts at their positions from the grid again, but when the race ended. So as that started, everyone else had that, but Hamilton did not serve his penalty at that time. We have Max Verstappen, who on lap 30 had to go back to the pits, and he retired the car there. in the pits, but everyone else finished the race. We had and Kimi Räikkönen showing a lot of pace. He was up to top 3. He was third position, and unfortunately fell back to 13th. 13 out of 16, so not great, still on the back end, but he was showing that he could keep up for a little bit. If he had a better car, I think he would be doing better. So everyone, as I said, finished. Everyone did surprisingly well. Nicholas Latifi finishing above his teammate in P11, and Alex Albon finishing 15th, so not having too hot of a day there. But Pierre Gasly, the AlphaTauri, as I said, I love AlphaTauri. Their livery is very nice, and the rebranding is just great. And he's probably, I like Pierre over Kvyat Daniel, but I like both of them equally, or I like the team equally. But Daniel Ricciardo is my all-time favorite driver. So Pierre finishes P1, first win in Formula 1. He's had podiums, but this is his first win in Formula 1, and I'm pretty happy for him, so congrats, Pierre. I don't know if you'll watch this at any time, maybe if I get big enough. But Carlos goes second and Lance Stroll third. So we have one, I would say, back-end car, 2 midfield cars, maybe all 3 midfield cars. Don't know what you would consider. I think I would consider Ferrari a backfield car right now. They can hardly challenge for any points. So yeah, maybe all 3 midfield cars, but they're showing that they definitely have pace. Lando Norris 4th. He was 6 seconds away from getting a podium, or maybe 3 seconds away from getting a podium. So that was sad to see. Valtteri Bottas goes 5th. Daniel Ricciardo 6th. Lewis Hamilton 7th. So Lewis Hamilton fell to the back, and then he had to move back up. Esteban Ocon 8. Daniel Kvyat 9. Sergio Perez 10. Nicholas Latifi 11. Grosjean 12th. Raikkonen 13th. Russell 14th. Albon 15th. And Gio 16th. So that was what's going on this week. So it was a pretty crazy race. So everyone was moving around. We see the two top tier cars, which are Hamilton's Mercedes and the Red Bull of Max Verstappen, and those fall back. They all are out of the points, basically, or almost all of them are out of the points, except the Mercedes, because it's inevitable, even though they don't do too well. So Hamilton got the fastest lap. He kept that even after his stop-go penalty. But it was interesting to see the racing of these cars, and it was strategy, I think. I would think it was partially strategy, partially the driver's skill, and the cars. So I think that's really what helped them deliver this result. I think it's what had AlphaTauri deliver the result, McLaren delivered the result, and Racing Point delivered the result. They were all up there. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching, and please be sure to check out the D's Lug Nuts podcast. And I'm going to have the Kentucky Derby episode, the Saturday breakdown, that'll be coming out in a little bit. So if you guys enjoyed, please be sure and let me know by leaving the like button. And if you guys want to see more content, think about subscribing, consider it. And thank you guys. Hope you all have a great rest of the weekend. And for those of you who celebrate Labor Day, happy Labor Day and happy late Father's Day to you Australian viewers out there. See you guys next time. Peace.